So good evening, colleagues. A huge welcome to this very, very special night where we award our colleagues and staff across the institution. It's kind of sad to be doing it this way. Normally we're in the Aula Maxima, packed with people. I have great memories of seeing, and particularly Marion McCarthy being beamed in from the distance as we listen to the amazing awards that go on in this institution over the last decade. It's one of the greatest evenings in the campus where we reach out and we acknowledge some of the amazing things that people have been doing in this campus in research, teaching and learning, and great citizenship. It's the hallmark of any great institution to have great staff. And maybe we don't often say thank you enough. Maybe we don't often reach out and say well done enough. Well, tonight is about doing that. It's about saying thank you. It's about saying congratulations. And it's about reaching out to a colleague or a peer who's, from our point of view at least, have stepped out and beyond. Of course, we can't give awards to everybody, and if that were possible, we'd probably fill the room many, many times. So each year, we celebrate the accomplishment of people in different areas of the institution. And it's all about impact, the impact that each of us takes or impacts on others as we teach, as we research, or we provide leadership in administration and professional services. That impact might be inspiring a young person or not so young person in the classroom. Impact might be a society impact of research, whether it's in this time of COVID and generating immunoglobulins or some sort of vaccination program or whatever that's important. Or it might actually be transforming the institution and making it a warmer and greater place for each of us to work. So it represents the entire spectrum of the institution, from research to teaching to professional services. And I want to give a big shout out to the committee, who have a really difficult task in undertaking each of these selection panels, application selection panels. But I also want to acknowledge the nominators, those who suddenly sat at their desk one day and said, you know, Mary, Michael, Tom, Jacinta, actually, you know, they deserve to be called out, they deserve to be recognised. And I'm going to start that ball rolling today. So maybe next time when you're sitting and you're thinking about someone across the university you want to acknowledge them, just maybe put a note to yourself and say, next time the staff awards come up, I want to nominate them. In a moment, Professor Nita Maguire, my colleague, will act as chair of this presentation, and together we will celebrate and acknowledge and also present to each of the category winners their awards here tonight. So I want to say thank you to everybody for making this possible in this very unusual circumstances. But I also want to acknowledge the people, not just the nominators, but people behind the people that have been nominated here tonight, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's colleagues, because, you know, we cannot do this alone. Some of you would have heard me say many times, if we want to go fast, we go alone. If we want to go far, we go together. At University College Cork, we want to go far. We can only go far if we go together. So as a team, whether as individuals on that team or people behind supporting that, the team supporting that individual, that's what really, really matters. So for those of you who are lucky enough to be nominated, I want to congratulate each and every one of you. We're incredibly proud of what you do on a daily basis at University College Cork. And, you know, for those that are winning, we want to give you a special shout out for all the work that you do. To the committee that are involved and tonight's people that organised tonight's ceremony, I also want to say thank you. So finally, as we navigate this really unusual time in our lives, let's pause for a moment to think about the sadness that has happened in our community, but also the great things that have happened, the sense of purpose, the focus that this community has brought over the last 6 months in this institution. And as we embark on the first semester of the academic year of 2021, let's be confident that we will do the exact same for our students today that started 175 years ago, almost tonight, that the 176th cohort of students starting UCC will enjoy an amazing experience, enjoy your friendship, enjoy your inspiration, but enjoy this wonderful campus. So it just remains for me to say thank you, to say congratulations, and we're looking forward to celebrating at a time when we're all back on campus again. Thank you very, very much.
Good evening. My name is Louise Crowley, and as Chair of the Staff Development Committee, it is with both pleasure and pride that I introduce the Staff Recognition Awards for 2020. I'm very sorry that we're not all together in the Aula Maxima this evening, as we are every year, to celebrate our brilliant colleagues. But I look forward to meeting up with you all again, whenever that happens. These awards present a very important opportunity for the university to acknowledge and pay tribute to our colleagues who contribute in an exceptional manner to all that we do and the standards of excellence here at University College Cork. This evening, we have 12 awards across 6 categories, and they will be presented to UCC staff members, individuals and teams to mark their outstanding contribution to university life and to the wider community. Once again, the standard of nominations received were quite phenomenal, and they presented the selection committee with an incredibly difficult task in terms of selecting the ultimate winners. However, as always, it was incredibly gratifying to be privy to such a volume and standard of excellence amongst our colleagues, to have an opportunity to witness the hard work and the sheer brilliance demonstrated by colleagues right across the university. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the tremendous work of the selection committee in assessing all of the nominations and undertaking the very challenging task of ultimately selecting the 12 award winners. Valerie Mannix-Boyle, John McAvoy, Owen Sheehan, Misha Crowley, Anne Gannon, Gary Hurley, and Colette McKenna. And a huge thank you to Grace Conway in HR for her support throughout the process. In truth, we struggled to cut it down to 12 winners at times. That we wished we had double, maybe even treble the awards to recognise and acknowledge the incredible work of our colleagues. But we got there in the end and identified the 12 winners. But I think it is only fitting that we acknowledge all of our colleagues who are nominated. And so in the course of this presentation, all nominated persons and teams are identified in their appropriate category. And so whilst not all nominees will receive awards this evening, I think it is important that they are acknowledged and recognised for their contribution. And so I might begin. And the first award is Enhancing the Student Experience. There were 4 nominees in this category and 2 award winners. The first award winner is the Irish Legal Information Initiative of the School of Law. The academic directors of IRLAI, the Irish Legal Information Initiative, Dr. Patrick O'Callaghan and Professor Maria Cahill, have made an outstanding contribution to the enhancement of the student experience at UCC in 2 ways. Firstly, the IRLAI project facilitates the learning and research of all law students at UCC by making the latest judgments and articles more accessible. Secondly, and perhaps more innovatively, the project provides a state-of-the-art suite of learning opportunities beyond the classroom. It situates its student researchers at the cutting edge of law rather than casting them as passive recipients of a package of law from a textbook. IRLAI has empowered its student researchers to transform free access to legal information in Ireland and provide a uniquely valuable service to and on behalf of the legal community. The team of student researchers has grown from 9 to almost 50 undergraduate and postgraduate students. The IRLAI project is a commendable model of academic partnership between staff and students. The Chief Justice of Ireland has strongly endorsed the project and personally emphasised to the students the significance and the value of their work. The academic directors of IRLAI are to be congratulated for this exemplary project and for undoubtedly enhancing the law student experience. The second recipient of the Enhancing the Student Experience Award is the UCC Indian Alumni Community. Established under the auspices of UCC South Asia Regional Working Group in 2017, the committee works tirelessly to augment the social and cultural experiences of current students in UCC and to support their professional development. The group also offers guidance and companionship to prospective and current students, many of whom are far from their established networks of family and friends. Every year, the Indian Alumni Community organises a festival on campus. The very successful inaugural festival, Indian Summer, was followed in subsequent years by Spandam, which means heartbeat in Hindi. These day-long events celebrating Indian culture, cuisine, song and dance provide a wonderful extracurricular learning experience for the student community. During the recent lockdown, the Indian Alumni Community quickly rallied in support of students. And in addition to supporting students of UCC, they also assisted Indian students at CIT and Griffith College. Vika Menon Margasteri has served as president of the Indian Alumni Community since its establishment and works with Manasi Nadkarni as social media manager and Rohan Gaude, who is the finance officer. Together, they demonstrate the value of the alumni network to the university and particularly to students. The Indian alumni community is a leading exemplar of what is possible when alumni unite to fly the flag for UCC. Their spirit of volunteerism, their pride in UCC, and their willingness to help the next generation of students represents everything that the alumni network stands for, and they are deserving recipients of the award for enhancing the student experience. The next category of award is the Leadership Award. And this evening we have two winners. And the first is Owen Hahasi, who joined UCC as Head of Media and Communications in December 2018. And in this short time, and particularly during the current COVID-19 crisis, has demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities. Owen has increased the quality and overall media profile and coverage since his arrival by changing the business model, proactively pitching to journalists on a daily basis, and placing a more strategic news focus on our media stories. Owen established UCC as members of The Conversation in September 2019, an international media channel which has increased our reach and profile significantly within international media in Europe and in the United States. He introduced a new podcast called Plain Speaking, featuring high-profile national and international speakers discussing topical global issues. And these podcasts were selected by iTunes from all global news podcasts in its coveted new and noteworthy podcast selection. And more recently, Owen has led the UCC communications effort during the COVID pandemic. As soon as UCC moved to remote working on the 13th of March, Owen became a key part of the emergency management team and was responsible for coordinating all communications from UCC across all channels. During this challenging period, our media profile, particularly academic research, remains consistently strong as a direct result of Owen's leadership, making Owen a very deserving recipient of this Leadership Award. The second recipient of a Leadership Award is Dr. Claire Edwards of the School of Applied Social Studies. In her ISS 21 leadership, Dr. Claire Edwards is exceptional. Claire articulates thoughtful positions, listens carefully, recognizes others' needs, and responds with energy. She models collegial values and consensual practice that colleagues follow. Claire articulated a vision for sustainable ISS 21 in a strategic plan. The diverse membership researching in ISS 21 is impressive. 150 plus members from 19 schools or departments and across all 4 colleges. Claire's leadership embraces that diversity through dialogue and support, talking and thinking with colleagues. Multiple impacts have developed under Claire's leadership, attention to societal and academic impacts. ISS 21 currently hosts and co-hosts 9 nationally and internationally funded research projects. To support this work, Claire has established new governance structures and processes, has acquired dedicated space for researchers, a meeting room and staff, and strengthened virtual presence in response to COVID-19. Claire has evidently made a significant impact on the perception of social sciences across every college and in many schools in UCC, and that undoubtedly took some leadership. In recognition of that, she has been deemed a very worthy recipient of a Leadership Award this evening. We move now to the Exceptional Citizen Award category, and we have 2 recipients this evening. The first recipient is Dr. Amanullah Dasondi. Aman is an exceptional local and international citizen with his clear drive for cutting-edge issues in the arts and humanities, such as gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, and pluralism. Aman's international recognition arises from his dynamic mix of scholarly research and personable use of his identities bound to Scotland and Pakistan. A gifted communicator, his consistent engagement with media reveals an altruistic nature with a desire for the greater good of society. He bravely speaks with both professionalism and integrity about what are oftentimes extremely sensitive and currently uncomfortable issues. As an active member of the UCC LGBTQ network, he has, through his research and media work, worked to increase awareness of LGBTQ issues and to improve the quality of life of LGBTQ people, both within religious communities and in the wider society, and aimed to tackle toxic masculinity within the Islamic world. Imam exemplifies good citizenship in using his intellectual capacity to reason out various social issues and impacting the world around him in manifold ways. Imam contributes to 4 different Athena Swan committees at UCC, including the new Race Equality Working Group. He has worked to highlight issues of racism and Islamophobia through his experience, and many other voices emerged after his public call against discrimination. He is very deserving of this award as one who is integrated with many different communities and working for the betterment of society as a whole. The second recipient of the Exceptional Citizen Award is a big team, the General Services staff, which includes duty officers and security services operatives and departmental officers. And I think if we were in the Aula Maxima, they might just fill it all by themselves. The General Services staff have all worked on the front line 7 days a week during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. During this time, they have made phenomenal efforts to ensure that the facilities in the university have continued in a safe environment. This has included providing access and support services as needed to academic, research and professional support staff, contractors, HSE contact tracing centre staff, hospital medical personnel, patients and students. During these unprecedented times, they have adapted to rapid change and responded in the most efficient way, safeguarding the university and all of its stakeholders. Their dedication has always been apparent, putting the needs of others as their priority, with no ask being too big despite the challenges they may have faced. Their adaptation to the changing ways in how we have had to operate was embraced and never questioned, as they continuously provide their services from the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic, which came to the fore in March. This evening, we pay tribute to our outstanding colleagues in General Services for their selflessness, their hard work, their kindness, and their compassion during these extraordinary times. They wholeheartedly deserve this award for their valiant efforts, commitment, energy, resilience, and dedication that has been invaluable in these complex times. The next category of award is the Impact Award, and this evening we have one recipient of this award, and that is Miss Colette Cunningham from the School of Public Health. With the arrival of COVID-19 in Ireland, Colette Cunningham was one of the main instigators in the creation of a contact tracing hub for Cork and Kerry HSE Occupational Health in March 2020. In response to the COVID-19 outbreak, Colette immediately took on an additional role with the sole focus of setting up an occupational health hub to organise and manage healthcare workers, and she coordinated the workings of 3 teams: the Clinical Occupational Health Team with nurses and physicians, the Occupational Health Telephone Support Team, which consisted of mainly HSE redeployed staff, and the Contact Tracing Team with HSE redeployed staff and volunteers from UCC. The creation of this model of working and its success in tracking and tracing has been recognised nationally as a very effective way of collaborative working, with the potential of providing a blueprint for how such hubs should operate. As a result, Colette has been invited to be on the steering committee to advise on the establishment of effective track and tracing teams. From the outset, Colette worked tirelessly 7 days a week to ensure the smooth running of the hub. This involved ongoing training and education of occupational healthcare staff, deployed staff and volunteer support staff. In addition, maintaining healthcare records, organising work rosters, engaging with management and staff in healthcare institutions, and offering support and advice in relation to HSE guidelines and care of healthcare workers. Colette was inspirational in her work and her leadership, and totally selfless, and went above and beyond for all, and thus this evening is an exceptionally worthy nominee and recipient for a Staff Recognition Impact Award. The next category of nominees was our largest category, unsurprisingly, the Outstanding Colleague Award, reflecting the numbers of outstanding colleagues that we are lucky enough to have here at UCC. There were 4 recipients of this award, and I'll begin the Outstanding Colleague Award recipients with Dr. Michael Byrne of the Student Health Centre. Whilst Michael is recognised nationally as a leader in the field of student health and welfare in higher education, in respect of his leadership and contribution to such important issues as tackling excess alcohol consumption and drug misuse, it is Michael's outstanding contribution in responding to and informing the university's many responses to the COVID-19 pandemic that is primarily being recognised here this evening. Throughout this pandemic, Michael has demonstrated a constant willingness to go above and beyond the responsibilities of his position as Head of Student Health to serve the entire university community. Michael demonstrates a high degree of excellence, professionalism and integrity in the performance of his work, and we have been truly fortunate to have a colleague of such talent and generosity amongst us at this challenging time. His commitment to the cause meant that he worked evenings and weekends and networked with key national figures to ensure that UCC could have confidence in the fact that it had the most up-to-date information. This enabled university management to make informed, key decisions at the right time. Michael has supported and contributed to the work of colleagues who needed to develop protocols, including work placement and accommodation, to name just two. He developed a protocol to follow if a student gets sick or presents with COVID-19 symptoms, and produced an online return to university course, which every student must complete before returning to UCC. This Outstanding Colleague Award acknowledges and celebrates Dr. Michael Byrne's passion for promoting the welfare and safety of UCC students and colleagues alike, along with his expertise and willingness to go above and beyond for the sake of the university community as an outstanding colleague. Excuse me. The second recipient of the Outstanding Colleague Award is Ms. Margaret Coakley of the Graduate Studies Office. Margaret has been identified as an outstanding colleague, in particular because of her consistent willingness to provide incredible help and support to colleagues across UCC in her role in the Graduate Studies Office. Margaret's nomination form was replete with examples of her generosity, her willingness to go the extra mile every time, with an immense capacity to provide answers to all queries and concerns, her constant availability, and even when on leave, her attention to detail in ensuring that support systems are in place while she is on leave. Recognising Margaret as an outstanding colleague this evening reflects the experiences of many, many colleagues in their incredibly positive dealings with Margaret over her years at UCC. The third recipient of the Outstanding Colleague Award this evening is Dr. Ethna Hunt. Ethna's commitment and passion in her work in occupational science and occupational therapy, and her innate spirit of compassion for others, means that all students and staff benefit from the positive and lasting impact of her knowledge and expertise in the area of well-being. Ethna developed her Everyday Matters Healthy Habits for University Life course, an innovative course which introduced ways for students to support themselves, to realise their contribution to self-care, providing steps for building resilience and pathways to success. Students engaging with the course reported the content as being inspiring. Separately, Ethna showcased true dedication and professionalism throughout the COVID-19 crisis. She's immediately available to help create digital assets that could be shared to reassure our own students as they face this global pandemic. Ethna created a targeted iteration for the UCC Plus and CIT Access programs, addressing the most vulnerable audiences, epitomising the true collaborative nature of the university's mission of being in, of, and for the community. Separately, for UCC staff, wellbeing and development, Ethna continues to provide updates on wellbeing and mental health matters, which are incorporated into the staff wellbeing development initiatives. For National Workplace Wellbeing Day in May, Ethna delivered an online session entitled Tend and Befriend, Self-Care and Self-Compassion in Challenging Times, to give staff the opportunity to press pause on the busyness of daily life and consider their interpretation of self-care. Ethna's engagement with staff and students at UCC and beyond serves to create a safe and healthy environment for all, and making her a truly outstanding colleague. The final recipient of an Outstanding Colleague Award is Mr. Alan Whitaker. Nominated by the administrative team in Bees, Alan has been identified as an invaluable colleague who provides support and assistance whenever asked. No task is ever too much. Alan immerses himself completely in the business of the school, providing support for field courses, research, and undergrad projects. Students hold him in high regard, and he is always on hand to give them advice and even share a joke or two. Alan regularly goes above and beyond the call of duty in many aspects of his work. The nomination form cited an example of the floods of 2009, when Alan was first in, wading through water to save as much as possible from the areas affected by the floodwaters. He developed protocols and procedures that promoted partnership and cohesiveness amongst technical staff from other disciplines that make up the School of Bees, and is highly respected by his technical and academic colleagues. Alan has worked closely with the head of school, school manager, and other colleagues during the recent university shutdown to maintain Bees research equipment. And he is now involved in getting field and research lab work back going again, and has taken it upon himself to establish appropriate protocols and training for Bees staff and researchers in conjunction with other offices in UCC to ensure compliance with all safety standards. Throughout this challenging time and with a demanding workload, Alan has maintained his good humour and readiness to engage and to support everyone around him. Alan epitomises collegiality and friendship and is always up to the challenge and willing to take on whatever is asked of him. He is a true ambassador for Bees and the university, both at home and abroad, and is a very worthy recipient of the Outstanding Colleague Award. And finally, we have the Frank McGrath Perpetual Award for Equality and Welfare, awarded to recognise the great work of our esteemed colleague, Mr. Frank McGrath, and to recognise the work of others in this area. And this evening, the recipient is Dr. Angela Flynn of the School of Nursing and Midwifery. Angela has demonstrated ongoing outstanding contributions towards equality and welfare at UCC in a way that emulates the high standards established by our esteemed colleague, Frank McGrath. Angela has worked hard to support her students to develop awareness of equality and social justice issues in healthcare. And through this positive role modelling, Angela has raised student awareness of the social determinants of health, traveller health, and the role of cultural competency in delivering just healthcare. She has been a long-term member of UCC's Equality Committee, is an active member of the University Sanctuary Working Group, and was a founding member of the Athena Swan Network for Nursing and Midwifery across the UK and Ireland. Angela has exhibited tenacity and energy in pursuing equality and advocacy matters through her voluntary work in the Irish Federation of University Teachers, IFUT, and is currently the national president. Outside of UCC, Angela is an original member of the Sanctuary Runners, an organisation that supports refugees and asylum seekers, developing solidarity and friendship through running. Angela is truly a dedicated and committed colleague with a real human concern for her colleagues, but also a strong commitment to justice and rights. Angela is a great academic in the truest sense of the term and is an incredibly deserving recipient of this very important award. So these are our 12 award winners this evening. I would like to congratulate them all on your behalf. And I would like to thank all of those who took the time to not only recognise the significant contributions of a colleague or a team, but to take the time to make and to fill out the forms and make the nomination and let us as a committee consider it. I encourage you all to look around you, recognise the great work that has been done by your colleagues, and when we issue the call for 2021, to take the time to nominate more of our outstanding colleagues, because it truly is a great opportunity for staff to be recognised. I'd like to thank you all for your time this evening, and again, congratulate my colleagues, individuals and teams for their great work in UCC. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to this evening's award ceremony, and to this, the teaching excellence part of the event. UCC has a long pioneering tradition of recognising and rewarding teaching excellence within the university. In 2002, we were the first university in Ireland to introduce a teaching rewards recognition scheme, and since then, a number of other universities have followed suit. UCC has always taken its teaching mission extremely seriously. Of all Irish universities and other higher education institutions, UCC has, at over 70%, the highest number of academic and support staff that hold a qualification in learning and teaching in higher education. And UCC continues to play a leading role in learning and teaching nationally and internationally. So tonight's awardees are singled out from a highly competitive field. I'd like to thank all of the nominators, the students, the colleagues and the alumni of our lecturers for the interest that they have shown in the awards and the justified pride that the nominators take in their teachers and colleagues' teaching experience. I'd also like to thank our panel of reviewers, both internal and external, who assisted in deciding these awards. These were Dr. Catherine O'Mahony, Director of CERTL, Dr. Fiona Chambers, Chair of the Academic Council Standing Committee for Learning and Teaching, Dr. Orla Murphy, a nominee from the Academic Council's Staff Development Committee, Ms. Elizabeth Noonan, a Director of Quality Enhancement at UCC, and our Students' Union Education Officer, Ms. Emer Curtin. And finally, our extern, Dr. Alison Hood, who's Dean of Teaching and Learning in Maynooth University. Under normal circumstances, pre-COVID, we would at this point in proceedings call on each of the awardees to come to the stage and collect their certificates and plaques from the President. But instead, I'm going to tell you a little bit about each recipient, and we'll get the plaques and certificates to you in another way after tonight's event. So, the first of tonight's 4 awards in teaching excellence goes to Dr. Louise Crowley, Senior Lecturer in the School of Law. Louise is a UCC alumnus and a qualified solicitor. Among the many other contributions to university life, Louise is also an elected member of governing body and chairs the Academic Council's Committee for Staff Development. And she recently completed her MA in Teaching and Learning in Higher Education. Louise previously won this award a decade ago in 2010 and has received numerous awards since then, including in 2017, the UCC Students' Union Outstanding Contribution to Students' Life Award. In 2018, the Staff Award for Exceptional Citizen, and last year, a Students' Union Honorary Life Membership. Louise is the Director of the LLM in Children's Rights and Family Law, and also the LLM Practitioner at the School of Law. With the support of IRC funding and the students of the LLM in Child and Family Law Clinic, Louise has developed and maintains an online information hub relating to all aspects of family law, and it's available at www.familylawinformation.ie. Her research in the area of domestic violence law has involved working with Move Ireland and the participants of its perpetrator programmes to critically assess the impact of Irish domestic violence laws and processes, and also with TUSLA, contributing to a needs analysis project in Cork City and County. Louise is very well known as developing and introducing the Bystander Intervention Programme to UCC in 2016, recognised as an innovative and effective approach to empowering students to challenge the normalisation of sexual harassment and assault, and empowering them to act as pro-social contributors to a safer campus. Transitioning this module to online delivery last year and making it accessible to all UCC students and indeed beyond. In this capacity, Louise was a member of the expert group appointed by the Minister for Higher Education to develop a framework to end. Louise was nominated for this award by her head of college, Professor Ursula Kilkelly, for Louise's work with the Family Law Clinic. The second of tonight's Teaching Excellence Awards goes to Dr. Gerard McLachlan, lecturer in organic and pharmaceutical chemistry. Gerard McLachlan has published widely in high-impact journals and has received over 1 million in competitive funding as part of the Science Foundation Ireland Research Frontiers programme, and also the Investigators programme and others. He has also received a Technology and Innovation Development Award from SFI. He works very closely with the pharmaceutical industry, both in Ireland and in the United States, and has received applied grants from Lilly in 2010 and Merck in 2015 as part of the Enterprise Ireland Innovation Partnership Programme. And collaborations with these companies has led to several PhD students on placements in Ireland and in Switzerland. Gerard has a keen interest in researching of teaching and treating teaching as a discipline in itself. And he has completed CERTL's certificate and diploma in teaching and learning in higher education. Ger has been nominated by the head of the School of Chemistry, Humphrey Moynihan, for his application of innovative pedagogies at undergraduate level. Humphrey wrote, Dr. McLachlan has devised approaches and entry points to learning which have been very well received by our students. His innovations have also been recognised by the leading journal in chemical education and has been presented at leading conferences in pedagogy, both this year. Gerard's head of school went on to note that while first-year organic chemistry is a notoriously difficult subject to learn, and consequently effective teaching is critical in that year, Gerard's use of contemporaneous materials, such as TV's Breaking Bad series, in teaching of organic chemistry is very well received by students, and feedback and retention levels in this particular module remain consistently high. Our third recipient for this year's President's Award for Teaching is Dr. Katharina Swirak, lecturer in the Department of Sociology and Criminology. Katharina was nominated by her head of department, Professor Maggie O'Neill, for her work on developing the first comprehensive inside-out prison exchange programme on the island of Ireland, which ran in Cork Prison for the first time at the start of this year. The pedagogical model of Inside Out is based on emancipatory pedagogical principles, emphasising the principles of egalitarian and collaborative learning. Based on this ethos, 11 outside students from UCC's BA Criminology programme and 14 inside students, incarcerated men in Cork Prison, participated in the module entitled Criminal Justice and Social Justice, that's CR 2002. BA Criminology students and incarcerated prisoners met for 3 hours every week in Cork Prison and together explored topics from a broad field of critical criminology, including why we should study crime or social harm, masculinities, crime and identities, and shedding labels. Katharina prepared a comprehensive reader for the course. Different topics were explored through group work exercises, combined academic and experiential learning in the classroom. One of the rules was that inside and outside students were treated equally with regards to every aspect of the programme, including interactions in the classroom. Director General of the Irish Prison Service, Karen McCaffrey, observed one of the sessions and noted that she had never seen such a learning experience before in an Irish prison. Outside students observed that the module was life-changing for them, and some of them also changed their career plans during the delivery of the module. Inside students commented that the module awakened or reawakened their interest and passion for learning, increased their self-confidence, and made them feel like they could keep up with college students. Katharina is continued to action her leadership in this innovative programme, enabling inside students to receive 10 standalone credits from UCC. Our fourth and final recipient of this year's President's Awards for Teaching is a team award that is awarded to Dr. Sharon Lambert and Dr. Angela Veal, coordinators of the MA in Applied Psychology programme. Sharon and Angela were nominated for this award by the MA in Applied Psychology class of 2019-2020 for developing an innovative and value-led programme with a strong emphasis on research-based curriculum, community-based learning and social justice. The student testimonials spoke about how, as a class, there are many reasons why we want to nominate Dr. Lambert and Dr. Veal for Excellence in Teaching Award. Their devotion to teaching of their students is evident from their engaging and personal teaching styles. Learning outcomes developed also by the students in the class will place us ahead of in the workforce, thanks to Dr. Lambert and Dr. Veal. Their adaptation to teaching throughout the COVID-19 pandemic was nothing short of remarkable, with online classes going live in mid-March with no setbacks. The most important objective of this year is to mark that Dr. Lambert and Dr. Veal left us with. This being that our learning was important to them, even in the midst of a global pandemic, and they were not going to let anything hinder the class reaching their academic goals. The class said that they are role models who many of the class look up to, and their support will not be forgotten. So Sharon and Angela's leadership in the MA in Applied Psychology programme, they developed a programme based on research-led teaching, informed by research on topics such as forced migration, globalization, refugee movements, and critical psychology, and also research group, with excluded groups such as members of the travelling community and people experiencing homelessness and early adversity, to make this one of the best MA programmes in psychology in Ireland. Through the leadership and social justice organisation brought to the MA by Drs. Veal and Lambert, the MA in Applied Psychology is ranked number 4 out of 54 CACS Masters programmes for total number of applications, and is second out of the 54 in terms of EU applications. The MA in Applied Psychology was shortlisted in the Great Ireland Awards for the best MA in Ireland in 2018. And in the last 3 years, the student cohort included students from Italy, France, Spain, South Africa, the United States, Canada, again, contributing significantly to UCC's internationalization agenda. So that brings us to the end of the Teaching Awards, and I would like to personally congratulate all of our awardees tonight for all their contributions to teaching and learning to the benefit of our students. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to have an opportunity to present this evening's Research Awards for 2020 to the UCC research community. It's really great pleasure to have an opportunity to say a few words here this evening. And firstly, I'd like to thank the people who've made this evening award ceremony possible. So this year, the awards were coordinated from our office, and I want to particularly acknowledge Emma Zappi, who's been central to ensuring that the Research Awards, and indeed more broadly this awards event, were coordinated smoothly this year. There's a tremendous amount of work goes into coordinating the awards every year. I want to also acknowledge the leadership of Mary O'Rourke, who's led out on the Learning and Teaching Awards, and Grace Conway from HR, who's led out in terms of the Staff Awards. A tremendous team of people working together to ensure that this event runs smoothly here this evening. Now, in terms of the Research Awards, I think we're all very aware that from an international perspective, the credibility and the reputation of the university is very much set by the visibility of our top performing researchers among their peer disciplinary experts internationally. So people look at the people they know in terms of their own research field, and that very much provides a context people have for UCC. So, you know, recognising the high performing researchers and the people who contribute to the excellence of the institution is extremely important. Tonight, we're going to be awarding 13 awards across 10 distinct categories. And in addition, at the end of the awards, we'll be awarding for the first time awards for the most cited publications. So just to start tonight's Research Awards, the first award that we want to offer is the Best Publication of the Year in 2020, which included an undergraduate student as an author. And this year we're making 2 awards under this category. So the first one is Rachel McCarthy from the Department of Digital Humanities in the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences. And her supervisor was Dr. James O'Sullivan. Her paper title is Who Wrote Wuthering Heights? This study was published by Rachel McCarthy and James O'Sullivan, but it was the student's idea and it emerged out of her final assessment for a module in her undergraduate programme, which uses computational stylistics to quantify the authorial fingerprint in the text to prove that indeed Emily was the true and sole author of Wuthering Heights. Emily Bronte published Wuthering Heights in 1847 under the pseudonym Ellis Bell. It was not until the later second edition published after her death that she was credited as the novel's author. Victorian attitudes towards women which compelled Bronte to publish as Bell have not been totally eradicated, with her legitimacy as the sole author being called into question by male commentators at several junctures since. Their claim is that Emily's brother Branwell is the real author of Wuthering Heights. However, using stylometry, a computer-assisted technique which measures the likely author of a text, this brief experiment demonstrates that it's highly unlikely that Branwell Bronte contributed to the writing of Wuthering Heights, and that Emily, as generally considered, is the novel's sole author. Furthermore, considering a number of limitations with the corpus being tested, this study provides a good and necessary example of stylometry in practice and how such an experiment should be conducted in less than ideal circumstances. So well done, Rachel. The second award in this category is being presented to Patrick O'Toole, again in the Department of Digital Humanities, and his supervisor was Dr. Maurizio Mancini. Patrick's paper was Understanding Chromesthesia by Strengthening Auditory, Visual, Emotional Associations. This paper presents a rich overview of existing studies to cross-modal associations, highlighting the motivation behind the study presented in the remainder of the paper. Patrick's hypothesis is that cross-modal phenomena such as synesthesia, that is, the stimulus on a given modality is perceived by other modalities, one, has a granularity larger than the classical true-false one, and two, can be an innate skill or it can be learned at subconscious level. This paper was submitted to the 2019 8th International Conference on Effective Computing and Intelligent Interaction, which is a top international conference in human-computer interaction, sponsored by Apple, Disney Research, Microsoft, and the Computer Society. The paper was one of the 60 papers selected among the more than 240 papers to be presented orally, and it was among the 6 ones nominated for the Best Paper Award. So well done, Patrick. So both of the students really tremendous awardees for undergraduates publishing papers in their field. The next award is focusing on creating a culture for responsible conduct of research. So one of the most active areas of research policy internationally is ensuring that research is conducted to the highest qualities in terms of integrity and management of data. And this award is really designed to measure the exceptional efforts made by researchers to foster a culture of responsible conduct of research in UCC. And in 2020, this award is going jointly to Dr. Elizabeth Kiley and Liz Hales. So Elizabeth Kiley is the chair of the University Ethics Committee and a member of the School of Applied and Social Studies, while Liz Hales is the administrator for the University Ethics Committee and the Social Research Ethics Committee. So Dr. Kiley has been untiring in her commitment to research ethics over her entire career, together with Liz Hales, without whom Dr. Kiley recognises that much of the oversight and support of ethical research practice would not be possible at UCC. She has developed and enhanced guidelines, protocols and training for teachers, researchers and supervisors, most notably the organisation of the National Forum for the Enhancement of Teaching of Learning for a national seminar, Nurturing Our Ethical Sensibilities as Learners, Teachers, Researchers and Supervisors in November 2019, which was very well received by all who participated. Other notable achievements over the past year, some of which emerged from discussions at the National Forum workshop, include the development of guidelines for autoethnographic and ethnographic research and financial incentives in research, and the ongoing review of data gathering platforms by UCC researchers in order to ensure we are provided with up-to-date support in research ethics and integrity that is responsive to changes in the social and research landscape. And indeed, from the perspective of our office, we've had the pleasure of working with Elizabeth Kiley and Liz Hales in their role on the University Ethics Committee, and really they have contributed enormously to creating the right culture for research in University College Cork. The next award is in the area of early stage research, and this is really focused on recognising the person at an early stage in their career who's contributed to most to the successful execution of research. And the awardee this year is Dr. Gillian Murphy from the School of Applied Psychology. Gillian is an outstanding researcher and her achievements are stellar, especially since she's only 3 years post her PhD. She has been consistently undertaking work of great merit, and her research outputs are many and are published in high impact journals, including a recent first author paper in Psychological Science, one of the highest ranked journals in psychology. Her work is already highly cited, with many papers in the top 10% in her discipline, with a very impressive trajectory. Her scientific rigour and potential have already been recognised at the most competitive levels in her subdiscipline, and she has developed international research collaborations. So I'm sure we'll see plenty of success from Gillian into the future, and delighted to have an opportunity to recognise her as the Early Stage Researcher of the Year for 2020. Our Our next award is focused on Open Researcher of the Year, and this is an award which we give each year to the researcher who's embraced the principles of open science in their research process and in the dissemination of their research outputs. And this year the field was so strong we've decided to make 2 awards. So the first award is going to Dr. Giovanni Pietro Vitali in the Department of Italian. And Giovanni is a researcher whose commitment to the widest dissemination of his works and his contribution as a trainer of others to use digital humanity tools for open access are outstanding. He pays great attention to the ethical aspects of his research and his work, whether in the field of literature or linguistics. He consistently aims for and achieves social outcomes. A key instrument for achieving these ethical aims is the use of open access for publishing his research. A prime example of how he has pushed the boundaries of canonical research into the wider realm of open access is his Marie Curie-funded study of the last letters of those sentenced to death in the 2 world wars, the results of which are widely disseminated both in the scientific community and in the general public through open source methods. His work on the last letters of Italian deportees was so widely disseminated that he was invited by the Centre for Contemporary Jewish Documentation to hold a lecture on the teaching of the Holocaust to all teachers of the Lombardy region, together with other nationally recognised experts, and among others, Life Senator Liliana Segre, who survived Auschwitz and who was a leading figure in the debate on the historical role played by the Holocaust. Second awardee for Open Researcher of the Year is Dr. James Louis Smith from the School of English and Digital Humanities. James has showed exemplary leadership skills in his career in open humanities research. Since his arrival in UCC in 2019-2020 as a postdoctoral fellow in the School of English and Digital Humanities, working on the European Regional Development Fund Ports Past and Present project, his contribution has been transformative. Not only has he provided key input into the ERDF project so far, above all since the lockdown in March, when most of our activities had to be adapted using digital platforms, but he has continued to deepen his commitment to the principles of open research through the support he has offered locally, nationally and internationally to researchers and research initiatives in the digital humanities. He continues to contribute to DARIA EU, the pan-European infrastructure for arts and humanities scholars, with a particular focus on the adoption and implementation of FAIR principles and on providing wider access to spatial tools without the need for extensive GIS training. And he's currently developing an ambitious 5-year major research project relating specifically to open research principles in the blue humanities. So 2 really very well-deserving researchers being recognised for their groundbreaking activities in open research. The next category is Research Communicator of the Year, and I think we're all aware of the importance of effective communication of research to broader audiences rather than just within the discipline. So this research award is very much focused on recognising the person who's taken a proactive approach to share their research with the general public and make it accessible to that broader audience. And this year's winner is a very well-deserving winner, Professor Alan Kelly from the School of Food and Nutritional Sciences. Alan is by his very nature a communicator. He's an excited and passionate believer in science and its power to impact on our daily lives. Anyone who spent time with Alan will quickly hear his favourite quote: "With food science, the distance between fundamental and applied is the shortest of all sciences." For him, food science allows visualization of science into a product that can feature in our homes. Throughout his career, Alan has emphasised the importance of good science communication and discipline in making your research accessible to all audiences. In addition to the publication of Molecules, Microbes and Meals, The Surprising Science of Food, he has engaged in a variety of activities, including radio interviews, public talks and workshops. Alan has been a true champion of scientific excellence and communication and has represented UCC with great character and honesty. So congratulations, Alan, for a very successful portfolio of activities in research communication. Our next category is the Research Supervisor of the Year, and this is designed to recognise the person who has demonstrated sustained excellence in the supervision and development of exceptional and influential researchers. And the field of applicants for Research Supervisor of the Year this year was extremely strong. And ultimately, we couldn't separate the leading two people in this category. So we'll be presenting 2 awards under Research Supervisor of the Year. Of course, we all recognise the importance of research supervisors as mentors for the next generation of researchers. So it's really great to see the very high calibre of research supervision which is underway within UCC. So the first awardee is Professor Paul Hurley from the Tyndall National Institute. He's the head of the Nanoelectronic Materials and Devices Group at Tyndall. He leads a large research group involving 10 PhD students, postdocs, visiting students and Tyndall research staff who perform basic research on high dielectric constant thin films for applications in nanoelectronics. Some quotes from his students were really telling. Paul has been my supervisor for the last 3 years. He's been a fantastic role model for everyone in our research group. Paul has an incredible gift at making people feel welcome and heard. No matter who you are, be it a student or a PI, he will always give his time to listen and talk with you about anything you need. His door is literally always open. And another student. Throughout my PhD, Paul also gave me the flexibility to perform research while meeting me regularly for discussions. As a novice and non-native English speaker, I had problems in understanding technical discussions in meetings. Paul suggested the most useful readings to overcome the barrier, and despite his busy schedule, spent a lot of time explaining and discussing the problems. Under Paul's professional guidance, I started from not even knowing how to write an abstract to publishing papers in high-quality peer-reviewed journals. So well done, Paul. The second awardee in this category is Dr. Sylvia Ross from the Department of Italian. She's currently the head of Italian in the college, and she was also Associate Dean and head of the graduate school for a period, a role which helped her drive cutting-edge postgraduate curriculum. She spearheaded the development and delivery of doctoral training in the graduate school in the college, including the flagship module on career development, both academic and non-academic, for end-stage doctoral candidates, delivered in partnership with UCC Career Service. Again, we have some quotes from the students who nominated Sylvia. Dr. Ross is nothing short of an outstanding research supervisor. Time and again, she demonstrates a level of hard work, care, and support for her students that simply cannot be reasonably expected of any faculty member. Sylvia is consistently kind and welcoming to all her students, no matter how busy she is. And from another student, Sylvia opens up a world of knowledge for all her students, where every single meeting includes extraordinary moment of insights, inspiration, and breakthrough. So well done to both of the awardees in this category. Really tremendous to see just the calibre of commitment from our research supervisors in supporting their early stage researchers in their teams. And now we come to the very important category of Research Support Person of the Year 2020. This category is designed to recognise the research support person who's contributed most to the successful execution of research in the institution. And this category is a really important category for the institution. We're all very aware of the high-profile PIs are internationally visible for their own research excellence. But we also are all very aware that behind these visible PIs, there's often a team of people, the research support staff, who are absolutely critical on the ground to ensure that that research continues to be successful across the years. I describe these as the unsung heroes of research across the institution. And every single one of the PIs has a number of these people working with them who support the ongoing research activity, and in particular who support the early career researchers who work in those teams and enable them to achieve what they need to achieve. It's really important we recognise this group of people. And this year's award is going to Eileen Hurley from the Tyndall National Institute, a very worthy winner of the Research Support Person of the Year award. Eileen is the manager of the suite of 6 laboratories under the umbrella of the Life Sciences Interface Group in Tyndall, which support the research of the 6 Life Sciences Interface Group PIs, as well as being a resource for several researchers across the groups and centres. The very nature of managing these facilities is both complex and challenging, and Eileen's competence, professionalism, people skills and attention to detail are exemplar. She has been instrumental in enabling the return to work in Tyndall following the COVID-19 restrictions. And indeed, talking to people about Eileen, we realise very quickly that there's a whole generation of researchers who undertook research at Tyndall who look back and remember the role that Eileen played in actually enabling them to achieve their research and fulfil their goals. She's certainly one of those really strong research support people who's had a tremendous impact on the research in Tyndall National Institute. So well done, Eileen. The next award is the Research Team of the Year. I think we're all very much aware that in the current climate, research often requires input from people from different disciplines, each bringing their own particular perspective to a challenge and working together to solve complex problems. So in this award, we try to recognise most outstanding contribution by a research team. And this year's award goes to the Spatial and Regional Economics Research Centre within the Department of Economics. In the last 12 months, this research centre has continued to maintain its quickly established and recognised status as a leading centre for the study of regional and urban economic development in Ireland with global recognition. The centre's research team is very productive with a significant quantity and quality of research outputs, and they've achieved substantial policy and media impact from their research. The team, with 22 publications, accounted for a significant proportion of peer-reviewed publications economics for 2019-20, and the output from the centre demonstrates the cohesion and the productivity of the team, and the team has formed very productive relationships within the department, more broadly in CUBS and externally. Members of the centre have been invited and have shared their research with the OECD, the Department of Finance, the Finnish Local Council, the Low Pay Commission, Creative Ireland, the Shannon Public Consultation Committee on Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise, the UK's Department of Business and Energy and Industrial Strategy, amongst others, to discuss the implications of their research for policy, which demonstrates the significant policy impact that research by centre members is having both nationally and internationally. So well done to all involved in the Spatial and Regional Economics Research Centre. Tremendously successful team of people. And now we come to the highlight of the year, the Researcher of the Year. And this is a really important opportunity to highlight the most outstanding contribution by a researcher in UCC over the past 12 months. And I'm delighted this year to announce that the winner of the Researcher of the Year is Professor Claire Connolly from the School of and Digital Humanities. A Fellow of the Learned Society of Wales and a member of the Royal Irish Academy, Claire is widely recognised and acclaimed as one of the foremost contemporary scholars in modern Irish literary and cultural history. Formerly a professor at Cardiff University, she has held significant visiting professorship posts at Boston College, Concordia University, Montreal, and most recently the prestigious Parnell Fellowship in Irish Studies at Magdalen College in Cambridge. Her transformative approach to modern and contemporary literary historiography, as formulated in key publications such as Theorising Ireland in 2000, the Cambridge Companion to Modern Irish Culture and A Cultural History of the Irish Novel in 2011, led to her central role, in partnership with Margaret Howes, in the landmark 6-volume Irish Literature in Transition series for Cambridge University Press, which promises to transform the research landscape. As well as being one of the general editors of the series, her own volume, Irish Literature in Transition 1780 to 1830, from CUP in 2020, affords radical new perspectives on these vital decades in the development of Irish literature in English. As well as consolidating her reputation as a leading voice in modern Irish literary historiography, she has also continued to build an impressive track record in the field of environmental humanities, widening the work she undertook as part of her major IRC-funded interdisciplinary research project, Deep Maps, West Coast Coastal Culture, and securing the first European Regional Development Fund project to have been led by a member of the college, Ports Past and Present, in collaboration with Aberystwyth University, the University of Wales Trinity St David and Wexford County Council. This pioneering project seeks to map the rich cultural heritage of the ports on both sides of the Irish Sea, Rosslare, Dublin Port, Holyhead, Fishguard and Pembroke, By gathering stories of movement of people between Ireland and Britain, the project will both contribute to understanding the shifting legacy of sea travel, whether motivated by war, trade, religion, and/or family, and contribute to highlighting and reimagining the role of these ports in the light of changing geopolitical circumstances. So congratulations, Claire. Great to see the work you're doing, which really raises the profile of UCC internationally as a leading research university. The next award is a really important award. It's the Career Achievement Research Award, which recognises the most outstanding overall performance of a researcher across their career. And this is not an award we make every year. We only make it when there is somebody who genuinely merits the award. And indeed, this year's awardee definitely fulfills those criteria. Professor Colin Hill from the School of Microbiology. Colin's research on fundamental and applied aspects of microbials has received international acclaim right across his whole research career. He's recognised in the Web of Science by Clarivate Analytics as a highly cited researcher, ranking in the top 1% of citations in 2018 and 2019 in his field. His group has pioneered the discovery and application of bacteriocins from diverse bacteria and bacteriophage for protecting dairy starters from phage attack and in terms of pathogen inhibition and microbiome manipulation. Among Professor Hill's main achievements is the fundamental characterization of bacteriocins. His team discovered the two-component bacteriocin lactocin 3147 in 1995, produced by Lactococcus lactis and encoded on a 60 kilobyte plasmid, and subsequently immobilized it to over 30 dairy starter cultures, the subject of an 11-year relationship with the starter company. More fascinating was the discovery of D-alanine, which is a post-translational modification from serine in the peptides, and that the mechanism involved binding to lipid by one peptide, followed by membrane disruption by the second peptide, leading to potent inhibitory activity at nanomolar concentrations. The bacteriocin has applications in bovine mastitis and has activity against antibiotic-resistant gram-positive pathogens. Colin's research has also contributed significantly to the human virome field. His group has developed lab-based and in silico-based tools for the analysis of the gut virome. Over the past 12 to 24 months, his research described the taxonomy of Crass-like phage, the most abundant phage in the human gut, and they successfully performed phage therapy in vivo. It's no exaggeration to say that Colin Hill has been one of the leading researchers at UCC for many decades at this point, each year producing really significant publications and, mentoring a group of early career researchers who've gone on to achieve tremendous careers in their own right. A really great pleasure to recognise and acknowledge Colin Hill's achievement and recognise the leadership he provides as a senior researcher across the university research community. And now we come to a new category of recognition awarded for the first time in 2020. I think we're all very aware of the focus internationally on research citation impact and indeed more broadly on impact in research. People look at the impact of research coming from the university as an important measure of the quality of research undertaken in a university. And of course, it's critical to remember that citation impact is only one of a suite of measures of research impact. There are many other measures. So, for example, impact case studies, which have been pioneered within UCC by the College of Arts, Celtic Studies and Social Sciences, are an equally important measure in terms of the impact of research conducted by the institution. And we're also in the process of developing a mechanism for recognising monographs published by the university and recognising the impact of those monographs. But today what we're looking at here is the citation impact of publications as a measure of just how the international experts in a particular field value the publications from UCC. Now what we've done here is we've used the 2018 publications. We recognise that the rate at which citations accrue differs across disciplines. So for making the award in 2020, we've gone back to publications which were published in 2018. And the tool we're using here is the SciVal citation resource, which utilises the Scopus database. So it's absolutely true to recognise that citation impact very much favours the STEM disciplines. It collects publication metrics on journal articles, so it's very much focused on STEM disciplines. But at an international level, there's been a huge amount of focus in the research policy landscape to move away from using journal-based metrics, from saying just because a publication is published in a high-impact journal, just as Nature and Science, that's not necessarily a good measure of the impact of the individual publication. And pressure has been on over the last couple of years to instead measure the publication impact of individual publications. And these have been articulated very strongly, first of all in the San Francisco Declaration on Research Assessment and by the European Commission in the Open Science Policy Platform recommendations. Both groups strongly recommending that we do not use journal impact factors, but instead use the citation impact of individual publications in categorising the quality of research or the researchers publishing in those fields. And indeed, Wellcome Trust as a funder has been very much to the forefront in ensuring that any universities which they fund must publicly commit to this principle. So here today we have for the first time the recognition of the publications from UCC which appear in the top 1% of the field-weighted citations in their own field from 2018. And it's really tremendous to see the diversity of publications from UCC across very different disciplines, from engineering to medicine to food science, to all different areas of the university, which have been judged by their peers in the team to fall in the top 1%. So I'll just briefly go down through these articles. So the first one here is from Jonathan Hourahan in the New England Journal of Medicine, and another one from Barry Plant in the same journal. And then there's a number of papers coming from the APC team. So one here led by Fergus Shanahan, Mick Malloy, Paul Cotter and Orla O'Sullivan in Gush. And then one from John Cryan, Ted Dinan, Catherine Stanton and Ger Clark in the Journal of Physiology. And another one from the APC team, Paul O'Toole, Fergus Shanahan and Micheál O'Riordan, which appeared in Gush. And then moving to the Photonics group in Tyndall, Sebastian Schultz's work in Nature Photonics was recognised as being in the top 1%. And from the School of Engineering, Gordon Lightbody's work, published in Electric Power Systems Research, was acknowledged as being in the top 1% in that field. Patricia Carney in the field of public health, recognised for a publication in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And then a team led by Alan Kelly, Joe Curry and Alan Morrison for a publication in the Journal of Food Engineering focused on 3D printing of food. And then Louise Kenny in the Lancet for a publication focused on Strider. And then moving to process engineering, George Oliveira was recognised for a publication in food chemistry focused on analysis in chemometrics. And then another publication from Gordon Lightbody's team, this time in Sustainable Cities and Society. And then back again to the APC team led by John Cryan, Ger Clark, Ted Dinan and Fergus Shanahan for a publication in molecular psychiatry. And then a publication from a team led by Aoife Ryan, focused on the link between diet and cancer treatment in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia and Muscle. And another publication by Fergus Shanahan in the Journal of Crohn's and Colitis. And then a publication in the European Respiratory Journal by Desmond Murphy and Owen Hunt, and a publication by David Malloy in PLOS Medicine. And then a publication from the infant team led by Deirdre Murray and Ger Boylan in the area of early human development, and a publication from Simon Elliott's team in the Japanese Journal of Applied Physics. And then another publication from Tyndall led by Peter O'Brien and his team, which appeared in the 19 Electronics Packaging Technology Conference. So for all of those researchers, it's tremendous to see their work recognised at this level, and it's really important to see that these leading publications are coming from many different areas across the university. But I must acknowledge in particular the tremendous performance from APC in terms of the numbers of their publications, which are achieving the top 1% in terms of field-weighted citations. So it only remains for me to congratulate all of the researchers recognised in the Research Awards this year, a really tremendous group of researchers who each of whom have gone above and beyond the call of duty to deliver to the very highest level. I want to thank once again Emma Zoppi, who coordinated this process, and I want to thank the people who took time to nominate people for these categories, and in particular I want to thank the evaluation committee, who had the very challenging task of reviewing the various applications and selecting the award from each of the categories. Not an easy challenge. And just in closing, I want to thank Emma and also Grace and Mary O'Rourke for making this event this evening possible, and I want to congratulate not only the research awardees but the awardees from across all of the categories here this evening. It make you proud to be a member of the UCC community when you see the extent to which people are continuing to deliver across the institution. So well done everyone, and have a good evening.